What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. It's Friday. I know it's so close to the weekend, and this is Star Wars weekend, and I know some of you guys probably saw it last night, and I am concerned, just like everyone else, about spoilers. I'm being very careful around the internet right now. But we still had some stuff that happened yesterday. We still have some video game stuff to talk about, including NPD numbers. And yes, we started to hear a little bit about microtransactions in Monster Hunter Worlds, and people are not really happy about it. Let's get started. So Atari Box, we talked about it yesterday in the beginning of Newswave, where I said, oh cool, there's a bunch of stuff happening today, including the Atari Box apparently going into funding. That was the original plan. And instead of sending an email out that said, hey, you can now go fund us over on Indiegogo, well, they sent an email out instead delaying the release of their Indiegogo campaign. Mostly they cited, in their words, the ecosystem and the platform needs work. I'm not really sure what they mean by that. Here's the thing about Indiegogo, as I've already told you guys, you do not need a prototype at all to actually be there. You need a conceptualized idea, and then you can have it in kind of the pre-planning stages. Maybe they're not ready yet with their operating system because they keep touting this open source or this open Linux system, which, by the way, bad idea, as I've said. The Sega Spartan changed that after I talked about it. Bad idea to have that because it makes no business sense. I have a feeling that might be what they're changing to a degree. Maybe they realize, wow, if we have this open OS, well, people can just do whatever they want to it. Anyway, at this time, the email they sent out just seems to say, hey, we'll have it ready soon. We'll update you soon. And then we'll let you know when you guys can give us money without showing you anything else. We need specs. We need their plan. We need their direction. What are they doing? So much stuff. And they're just not ready. So I just wanted to get started with that just to get it out of the way. We don't even know when it's showing up. At this point, it's just to be determined for when we can actually give them money and, I guess, crowdsource this mystery box, essentially. Next up, let's talk about Burnout Paradise, because there was a lot of news flying around yesterday about this, because a Brazilian site actually listed it for sale, essentially as like a pre-order thing with a release date, I believe, of March 1st, 2018. Sounds like a placeholder date, by the way. And then it was also rated over in Brazil, which means we might see Burnout Paradise maybe. It's still iffy because there's no actual announcement of this game. That could mean it's coming. Could mean this is just a false flag. It's very possible. Things have happened in Brazil like this before. Different ratings and stuff have happened and turns out to be true. It's kind of weird over there with their video games and everything. But here's the thing. This has sparked a lot of interest. And the reason I looked at this one in particular, outside of other ones that have happened over there that turned out to be false, is because this game could actually fit into EA's, their idea of games as a service relatively easily. I mean, it's an open world game. It was done by Criterion. Criterion's turned into kind of a support developer. They help out EA wherever they're needed. Like if Battlefront 2 needs help to get to the finish line, go help them out. Do what you have to do. There was also like an X-Wing VR part that they helped out with. So they've turned into really a shell of their former self. Really, the leads left and went to make other games. And at this point, they would probably be used to help the back end of that game, maybe. A game that they once created that was very popular and showed up really as an awesome idea for Burnout to be an open world game. Now, the online open world part fits in perfectly with what EA wants to do, which is really games as a service, an online environment that can be pretty much maintained through microtransactions and loot boxes. Most of the game's probably already done. And what's interesting here is it was listed for the Xbox One, the PS4, and the Nintendo Switch, which is kind of interesting because that means that EA could show up on the Switch with something that has possibly loot boxes, as that seems to be in every game they put out now, and microtransactions through EA. So they could be starting to maybe infect the Nintendo branch as well, although 2K's already been there with NBA 2K18, but seeing more of these games show up there. And I think that would be a good game for the Switch. I don't know how interested the Xbox and the PlayStation community would be in this game because they had it on the 360 and everything, PS3 and everything back then, and it's already on the PC. I don't really know how interested they would, but the Switch doesn't have a lot of racing games like that, so that would actually be pretty welcome there. I think people would buy it. But we'll see. No actual announcement now. It was making the rounds like crazy yesterday. People were sending me messages all over the place about it. I just wanted to address it here. Keep an eye out though for Burnout Paradise Remastered, possibly showing up on the Xbox, the PS4, and the Switch in a games as a service form. You're not going to see it just as the same exact form as you did before with the 360 and the PS3, even on the PC. It'll show up And it'll probably have loot boxes and microtransactions and all kinds of stuff. Probably what you saw on Need for Speed, to be honest, and that was received very well, right? Expect something like that. If it does come back, Games as a Service, Burnout Remastered. Next up, let's talk about the NPD results. We did have them officially released yesterday, late in the afternoon, actually around 6:30 p.m. my time, Eastern time. And we did see that, yes, the PS4 was the #1 selling piece of hardware in terms of units. Overall, though, I will say this, video games, really the entire section of gaming, was up 30% over last year, which is pretty big. Now, the NPD group does cite the release of the Xbox One X as being a big factor since it was very expensive. The PS4, by the way, having its best month ever. This was the best month they've ever had in terms of units sold, like in its whole life in the NPDs. According to them, the Switch was also a big driving factor from last year since the Wii U wasn't exactly, booming or anything last year, but the Switch is this year. However, the rankings do go PS4, Xbox One, Switch, much like we talked about before when there were unconfirmed NPD results flying around out there. Now, according to them, the Xbox brand, alongside with the Xbox One X, obviously at $500, brought in the most in terms of revenue dollars. So the PS4 sold more units, but the Xbox One brought in more revenue, mostly because of that higher price tag. And the Switch was at #3. According to the NPD group, all three did really well. It's just the PS4 had an astronomical month, and so did the Xbox, again, with its launch of the X, and the pricing, as we talked about, the PS4 and the Xbox One were amazing. Like I said, a PS4 Slim, $200, 1 terabyte, and you get a $50 gift card at GameStop. I actually talked to a few people who bought a second PS4. They already had a PS4, but they're like, this thing's $150 basically with that gift card, and I'll get Persona and maybe Horizon Zero Dawn, or maybe, I'll get some other third-party game, maybe Call of Duty or something, and then I'll just get a PS4 Slim for $150 or $190 straight up for the Xbox One S. The deals were just too good, and I really hope Sony got a taste of how many units they can move at $200. Sure, that was a deal at like a limited time deal that people were rushing out for. I do think that $200 tag is massive to get the PS4 over that 100 million hump. I think that's going to be the big thing, right? Having a good price like that, 1 terabyte model, if they can get it there, great. I think they would still sell a lot, even if it was a 500 gigabyte. That would be enough, I think, just to get people on the wagon there at $200 that maybe have been holding off, although everyone I know seems to have a PS4. There's so many of them out there now. Now here are the game rankings overall. I'll give you guys the top 10 real quick. Starting at the top, Call of Duty WW2 at #1, as we expected. Star Wars Battlefront 2 came in at #2. I was kind of hoping it wouldn't, because we had the word that it sold 882,000 or something like that. But there it is at #2. Assassin's Creed Origins down from there 3. NBA 2K18 at 4. Madden NFL 18 5. Super Mario Odyssey is at #6. You'll notice that little asterisk next to it. That's because they do not count eShop or any of the Blizzard store sales. So they don't count eShop sales, digital essentially, for Mario Odyssey. So what you're seeing here is all physical sales. So FIFA 18 at #7, Need for Speed Payback at #8, Destiny 2, again, they don't count the Blizzard store, #9, and then Pokemon Ultra Sun, again with that asterisk, not counting eShop sales, #10. Yeah, I know you're going to ask, Grand Theft Auto 5 was on this list. It's crazy to think that this is still on the list. #13, so it was only a couple spots off of the top 10. That game just won't go away. I have a feeling people who bought a PS4 hadn't had one probably bought Grand Theft Auto 5 because it is an extremely popular game. It sounds crazy right now. I could see them hit 100 million with that game. I know they're at 80-something million right now. If they do have a Switch release in the works right now and the Switch keeps gaining steam like it will, I think a lot of people will rebuy it on the Switch for that portable nature. I think the Switch is the key right now to get them over that 100 million mark before the next generation starts. For the Xbox One and the PS4 charts, Call of Duty was #1 on both, and then of course on the Switch, Super Mario Odyssey was the #1 on that system. So overall, it was a good month of games. Everything sold really well. I expected the PS4 to probably be at the top because, again, that deal was just too good to pass up. The Xbox One makes sense. I even talked about this before. I think the Xbox would get the best in terms of dollar amounts because the X is so expensive, but apparently they were right there with the PlayStation 4, and that has to be kind of true if they were able to get more revenue. That means they couldn't have been that far behind in terms of units sold in the first place. And the Switch at #3 isn't technically bad because I'm sure it was still close to 1 million units sold, and it was just it was just a really good month overall. I mean, they did 30% better than last November. That includes, last November's Black Friday, I believe, or at least it should. So overall, yeah, good month in games, guys. Everything looks good. No games are not going away, like I said earlier this week, despite analysts outside of the gaming sector saying, oh, games are slowly dying off because cell phones are, taking over. No, not quite. Next up, I want to talk about a really cool crossover that I saw, and I hope more games like this really do something like this. The Predator is having a crossover with Ghost Recon Wildlands. How much sense does that make? I mean, seriously, it takes place in like an open world jungle type setting at times. That's perfect. So what you do is you can do co-op even, kind of hunt down the Predator, and the idea is to obviously defeat him without being obviously destroyed by the Predator. And what's cool is you get little kind of rewards and perks and stuff from doing this. For example, you get a helmet or a mask that gives you the Predator vision. I thought that was really neat. And another interesting thing here is this is going to be a limited event that just runs from, according to them, December 14th through sometime in January. I don't really know when it's going to end in January, but this is going to be an event you can just sign in, you can play. It's free, apparently. Now, they're going to have, from what I'm reading here, they were a little vague about it, kind of packs you can just buy. I assume that might be with real money, like microtransactions. Either way, I like the idea of adding something like this to a game that they were trying to have, I assume, be taken more seriously. And it being kind of a limited event is neat, even if they don't want it to stay like forever as part of it. Having kind of events that just happen randomly are pretty cool and could get people back into this game. But the Predator, I mean, how cool is that to hunt down the Predator or be hunted by the Predator in the jungle in a setting like Ghost Recon Wildlands? That actually sounds like a lot of fun. And our last bit of news, let's talk about Monster Hunter World, because I know there were some people concerned before about loot boxes, microtransactions, gameplay affecting microtransactions, ways you can buy in real money to give you actual advantage in the game. It's really, I mean, seriously, microtransactions in general are pretty much tainted at this point because of what EA has done with them. But Monster Hunter World appears to be getting a form of microtransactions added in. And according to developers, this was an issue with Famitsu. By the way, if you really want to see a lot of information about Monster Hunter World, really this is where I got some of this information after seeing it on the Monster Hunter World Reddit. I can't read Japanese, so I had to figure something out. If you go over to Gaijin Hunter's YouTube channel, very well done, by the way. He goes through all like the different magazine inserts and everything for Famitsu and kind of translates them, tells you what is happening. And this is where I got some of this information from. It looks like, yes, in an interview, or at least just information about from the developers for Monster Hunter World, well, they talk about microtransactions being a part of it, but according to them, it's going to be more cosmetic. If you want a really good rundown of this issue of Famitsu, check the link down in the description. I'll leave a link to Gaijin Hunter's video all about this exact issue of Famitsu. But mostly they talk about how they want to add a way in that they can still get money going forward for free updates. Now, of course, you don't have to buy into these microtransactions because they will be cosmetic, at least is what they're saying right now. It's going to be cosmetic only. So there are certain outfits that I assume will be locked behind paywalls if you want them, but they don't appear to be needed. Like, it's not like in Battlefront 2 where you would buy actual advantages in the game. This appears to be mostly cosmetic, and it's there to fund the free updates that they're talking about. So while I understand people don't like microtransactions at all in like a full $6 game, this is kind of the lesser of, all of two evils or whatnot. I mean, this is really something they have to do to collect money down the road rather than charge for DLC. I'm less frustrated when it's all cosmetic. You know what I mean? Like, I don't mind as much because I don't care too much about cosmetic stuff. It doesn't bother me. I'm sure there will be people out there who will be bothered if they cannot get a certain outfit by just playing the game. So I hope in this case there is a way to get this stuff without having to actually just pay money. Maybe it is a grind, but at least it's there for you to get, and it's just something that makes you look different rather than give you actual gameplay perks. I'm okay with cosmetics, but if this stuff starts affecting gameplay, there's going to be a problem. Ladies and gentlemen, that is it for Newswave today. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this video, the dislike if not. Let me know what you think about any of the stuff we talked about today. Whether maybe you're excited about Burnout Paradise possibly coming back. Does it make sense to you like it does to me? Is it being kind of a games as a service that EA can spend a little bit of time in development and possibly make a ton of money from loot boxes and microtransactions and all this stuff? I think that'd be actually a really cool idea for them to attempt to use something like this as a free-to-play experiment. Bring it back, and it's free, but there's a bunch of loot boxes and stuff, and I'm just curious if maybe they'll think about that. They're saying very low risk. let's see if people just download it for free and give us money through microtransactions, and then we can maybe gauge if this will work with other stuff. Also, let me know what you think about the NPD results. Are you surprised at the PS4 one? I assume most of us are not. But are you surprised that the Xbox brought in the most money out of everything? I'm a little surprised about that, to be honest. But, I mean, you have the most expensive system. It sells pretty well in its first month. That tends to happen. December should be pretty interesting. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great weekend. Play some games. I'll see you on Monday.